One of the best ways to increase bottom line profit is to grow top line revenue, but raising prices isn't the only way to do that. To grow top line revenue, I'm going to share 5 very simple, straightforward, actionable ways to increase revenue in your restaurant. That's what today's video is all about. If you don't know me, my name is Chip Klose. I run a company called Restaurant Strategy. I help independent restaurant owners increase the profitability of their restaurants. I wrote a book. I give talks. You'll find me here. I've got a podcast, the Restaurant Strategy Podcast. I also run a group coaching program. It's called the P3 Mastermind. If you want to learn more about any of that, go down, click in the comments, in the captions, you'll find all that information. Also, if you don't already follow this feed, this channel, make sure to do that. Hit the bell so you'll be notified every time new video comes out. Okay, let's get into it. I told you I would share 5 different ways, 5 ways that you can boost check average to grow top line revenue without having to raise your prices. So here it is. The number one way, I'm going to share 5 of them. Number one is premium spirit upsells. What happens is when somebody orders a burger, for example, someone says, oh, I'll take the cheeseburger with cheddar. What's the first thing you say? A server is coached to say, great, and how would you like that burger cooked, right? I'll take the filet mignon. Absolutely, and how would you like that cooked? Medium rare, please. So what we want to do is teach our servers and bartenders to have an automatic response every time orders. The best example is when they say, I'll take a vodka martini straight up with a twist. You say, absolutely. And did you prefer Grey Goose, Tito's, Belvedere, Kettle One? What happens is you don't ask, and did you have a preference on vodka? Because then you're giving them the chance to maybe order a low-end spirit, or for them to say, nah, the well is fine. Instead, you say, and did you prefer? And then you start listing options. What happens is they will either hear something they know and like, they will pick something you just said, or they will just pick something to get you to shut up. I'm dead serious. What you say is not, and did you have a preference on spirit? What you say is, and did you prefer Grey Goose, Kettle One, Belvedere, Tito's? You name the premium, the top shelf spirits. Here's the beauty part of it. Number one, it is an upsell, so you're making more money for the restaurant. Number two, right, servers get 20% commission on everything they sell. They pretty much make 20%, give or take, on every dollar that's on the check. So every time they upsell, they are seeing the benefit. It's going directly to their pocket. And most importantly, we are showing the customer, the guest, a better way to experience the restaurant. Because guess what? Tito's, Kettle One, Belvedere, it makes for a better martini than a lower end spirit. So it's the very first thing you can do. Train your servers, your bartenders, your managers to have an automatic response. Just like they say, I'll take the filet mignon, and they say, great, and how would you like that cooked? When they say, I'll take the vodka martini straight up with a twist, absolutely. And did you prefer Kettle One, Belvedere, Grey Goose, Tito's? Get everybody doing that automatic. You do it with scotches, you do it with gins, you do it with bourbons, you do it with vodkas, you do it with tequilas. Every time somebody orders that, there are high-end spirits. There are top shelf varieties that they can sell. They should be selling it. Okay. Now, the next one, right, that's the upsell. Let's talk about the casual downsell. Number 2 is you go to the casual downsell to build trust. I use this example all the time, right? So we're in a restaurant. Somebody calls the server over and says, hey, I'm looking for a bottle of white wine. I was looking at this Sancerre, right? And they're pointing to a Sancerre that's $85 on the menu. There's an opportunity here where if this exists, the server can say, that's a really great bottle of wine. You know what's even better? And you take them to something that's $10, $20 cheaper to build trust. Now, hopefully that other wine is as good or maybe even better. Maybe it punches above its weight. But you take them from the $85 one, you say, yep, because everyone's used to being upsold. So they say, I was looking at this $85 Sancerre. You say, that's pretty good, but you know, this $110 one is even better. They're expecting that. So when you take them to something cheaper, they go, oh, really? You say, yeah, you wouldn't believe it, but it's actually better than the more expensive one. I would get this one. And they say, okay, you save them some money and you're showing them a better wine, right? Hopefully it is a better wine that you're taking them to. So what happens is when you go, you open it, you pour it, and they go, wow, this really is great. Especially for like a Sancerre, right? A Sauvignon Blanc or, something easy drinking like that, right? You can really blow people away and they will thank you for that. Now what happens is maybe they were only getting one bottle of the $85 bottle one, but if you sell them a $60 or $65 bottle one, maybe they're willing to have 2. Or because you've built trust with that transaction, they said they were looking at this $85 one, you sell them a $65 one, then they are willing to trust you more. So when it comes time to switch to red with the main course, for example, they say, man, you took such great care of us the first time. What are you thinking here? And then you respond and say, well, what were you looking at? What are you in the mood for? What's everybody eating, right? And then they point to something And that gives you their price point, because maybe they were willing to spend 80 or 90 bucks on a white, but they're willing to spend 130, 140, 150 on a red. Well, maybe there's an opportunity then to take them to $170 or $180 bottle of red. Again, as long as it is better, truly better than the one they were looking at. And you can teach them something new and take them to something they wouldn't have otherwise gone to. There's an opportunity when you build trust with that casual downsell to build trust, and then they will listen to you with whatever you recommend. Here's the next thing, and it goes right in hand with trust. Getting an extra on the table. That's the third thing. So I used to work with a server, very first restaurant I ever worked at in New York City. I was trained by a woman who was savage, absolutely brilliant at this, brilliant at getting extras on the table. So she would pass out the menus and say, as you're looking over the menus, I just want to point out a couple of our signatures. Also, a couple of my favorites are here, here, and here. And there are 2 additions that aren't listed here. Let me tell you about them quickly. She would tell them that, right? Give me a few minutes, look through the menu. I'll be back to answer any questions you have and to take your order. She'd go away. They would look over the menu. She'd come back. Great. Instead of asking, right, was everyone ready to order? She said, great. Are there any questions on the menu? Right? If there are questions, people will ask. If there are no questions, they say, no, we're good. And say, perfect. Then can I go ahead and take your order? What happens is then she takes the order, and at the end, she would say, oh, okay, this is great. I've got your whole order here. You know what? It looks like nobody ordered the fill in the blank. It looks like nobody ordered the risotto. Risotto is exceptional here. You know what I might recommend? I always recommend putting one of those just in the center of the table with the main course. That way everyone can have just a couple of spoonfuls. It can almost be like a side dish. And then you get to taste it without, without having something so heavy, without having like a rich, full dish of risotto. What do you think? Can I send a bowl or 2 in the center of the table so that everyone could get some? 9 times out of 10, people were like, yeah. Or she would say, you know what? There's 2 items you didn't order. There's this, and then there's this. Both of them are excellent. I might recommend putting one or both of them in the table, knowing that she'd probably only get one of them on the center of the table, but she gave them a choice, right? And this is really, really important. We're going to come back to this in just a second. This idea of how we frame the question. Frame it not as a yes or no question, but as a this or that, right? I might recommend this risotto. Do you want to do one of those for the center of the table? 50-50 chance. They flip the coin and they say, no, thanks. But if you say, there are 2 items you didn't order, but you really shouldn't miss. There's this, and then there's this. Can I recommend putting one or both of them in the center of the table? That way you guys can just have a little taste of something. And then they'll say like, well, just bring us this one. It's fine. You got a sale. And when you sell 5 entrees on a table of 4, that impacts your check average immensely. You do the math. You look at if every 4 top, you sold an extra entree. On every 2 top, you sold an extra side or an extra appetizer. It is a profound impact to top line revenue, which will generate more bottom line profit. Okay, here's the 4th one. Send a free dessert at the end of the meal just so you can get after dinner drinks. Right? Desserts, if a dessert's 10, 12 bucks, I'm guessing they're at a really, really good cost, so you can afford to give them away. So if somebody's done and they're going to leave, what I might do is say, was everybody interested in dessert? And like, oh, I'm really stuffed. Like, okay, I'm going to send you something. So if you were to pick something here, and if I might just send it, what might you love? And they'll say, well, this chocolate cake did look really good. Cool. Let me see if I can send that. You go away and you come back and you just start setting them up for dessert and say, so my gift to you, I'm sending that. What I want to know is who wants a coffee, a cappuccino, an espresso, an after dinner drink, maybe a dessert wine to go with that. I might recommend this, or maybe a bourbon. What can I get for everybody? So you comped them a $12 dessert, which is really like $2.50 cost or $3 cost, in order to get the $5.50 cappuccino, the $4 espresso, the $18 bourbon, the $16 dessert wine. Because when you get 4 of those on the table, then suddenly a $12 comp, which is really $3 cost, to generate an extra $20, $25 in sales, it's a no-brainer. If you've never heard of that move, if you don't know that move, that will help increase your check average, which will grow top-line revenue, impacting bottom-line profit. Okay, the last one, the 5th one. I've saved this for the last because it is the very best. You focus on second beverage sales. The way you get more second beverage sales, number 1, is getting first beverages on the table. First approach is really about getting a drink order. Do not give anybody reading material. If all you want them to do is take you in, acknowledge your presence, meaning a server comes over and says, "Hi, how's everyone doing? My name's Chip. I'll be taking care of you. Have you dined with us before? Oh no, it's your first time. Amazing. You're in great hands. Listen, I'm going to bring menus over in just a second, but I'd love to get you started with something from the bar. Did anyone want a cocktail or maybe a glass of wine or champagne?" Whatever it is you sell, it's right for your concept. You're going to sell it there. I don't want them to get menus because then they're already head buried in the menu. They're not looking at me, the server. They're not taking in the surroundings, and they're not listening to what I actually want them to do. And then you get the dreaded the dreaded response. "Can I get somebody anything from the bar?" And they say, "I don't know. I'm going to figure out what I'm eating first." No, we want them to have a beverage now while they're deciding. And then when they decide, they say, "Great, now let's find you something to pair with your meal." Right now, the first thing I want you to do on first approach is get a drink. So the best way to get a second beverage is to get that first beverage on the table quickly. Then you focus on table maintenance, right? So we come over, we're always looking for dead glassware. We're removing that from the table, or we're looking for drinks that are almost done. When the drink's almost done, you go over and say, "Look, miss, it looks like you're almost finished here. Did you want to continue on with another glass of white, or are you ready to move to red?" Now, it's very important. When it comes to second beverage sales, table maintenance is key. When it comes to second beverage sales, timing and framing is absolutely paramount. Timing, meaning when you ask. There's significant data, research that shows that if you offer a second bottle of wine or a second round of drinks before the entrees have hit the table, you will have a better probability of getting that sale. So make sure that you're staying on top of the table and offering that second drink before the entrees hit. I'm telling you, it makes a difference. The second one is framing, and we talked about this a second ago. Instead of asking a yes or no question, "Miss, can I bring you another glass of wine?" We frame it differently. We frame it as a this or that question. So no yes or no questions, it's a this or that question. So instead of, "Would you like another glass of wine?" it's, "Miss, would you like to continue on with the white, or were you ready to move on to a red?" Right? "Did you want another old fashioned, or did you want to maybe try our Manhattan?" Everything is framed as a this or that. So you've got a higher probability of them picking one or the other. Either way, you get the sale. And they got to go out of their way then to opt out and say, "No, thanks, I don't need anything else," which is fine. We're not in the business of over-serving. Notice, I'm not talking about third, fourth, fifth beverages. I'm talking about a second beverage. Somebody who comes out and has one drink will have a second drink over the course of 2.5 hour meals. So get them their second drink. You do that by getting the first drink on the table, by focusing on table maintenance, offering that second drink before entrees hit the table, and framing it as a this or that question, not a yes or no question. That's it. Those are the 5 ways that you can increase top-line revenue in a profound way at the table level when you get all your servers, all your bartenders, all your managers rowing in the same direction. That's how you do it. Listen, hope you find this helpful. Again, my name is Chip Klose. I'm the founder of Restaurant Strategy. I got the Restaurant Strategy podcast. Go check it out. You'll find all the other videos here. I wrote a book. It's called The Restaurant Marketing Mindset. I run a mastermind, a group coaching program for restaurant owners called the P3 Mastermind. You can find the link down in the caption if you want to have a conversation. If you struggle with profitability, you want some hand-holding, you want some guidance, you want to be part of an incredible community, go click the link, grab time on the calendar, and let's have a chat. That's it, guys. Appreciate you. I will see you next time.